Hey everyone, I am here today with Jen Roberts to talk about her future vision for what our world can be in 25 years. And she is a time creation coach. And if you're curious what that is exactly, I'm sure she's going to tell you here in just a second. But I am super excited to have her on the podcast today. And I'm going to just toss it over to you, Jen, so that you can introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Jen. Well, I guess it might not be morning when they listen to this. I'm Jen Roberts, and I am a time creation coach, which means I help overwhelmed people, especially entrepreneurs, make time, work fewer hours in their business actually without sacrificing income so they can get back to enjoying their life and their work again.
And how did you, can I just ask, because I'm very curious,
Of course.
how did you get into the work of being a time creation coach?
So I had been looking into entrepreneurship for a very long time, at least 10 years, had tried dipping my toe in the water unsuccessfully, had some failed businesses in my past, and I was looking for a job again and realizing that that's not where I wanted to spend my time or energy because looking for a job is miserable.
Yeah.
So I decided that I needed to do something different and I hired a coach. So I
Mhm.
worked with a local Kansas City coach for all of 2022, and this is what we came up with
Awesome.
working together. Yeah, so that's part of the reason I really believe in one-on-one coaching and the power of it because I saw it myself. In my experience with my coach, I made more progress with her in 10 months than I had in the prior 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that is the testament of coaching in general
Yeah.
is you get a super boost because you get someone to go on the journey with you and help you push through. When you're on your own, a lot of times you tend to come up onto something hard or something you don't know, and instead of knowing what that next step is, or instead of even taking the next step, human tendency is to protect ourselves and
Yes.
recoil back, and that's where you get stuck, right? And so when
Yes.
you have that partner to help you just keep pushing forward, it is amazing what you can get done. um,
Just getting out of your head, that accountability. I was a teacher's pet overachiever in school, so having someone to perform for really worked well for me.
oh
I
yeah.
tried a lot of do-it-yourself courses, group courses, things like that, and not had a lot of luck because I need to perform for someone, evidently.
Well, I'm glad you're here with us today then. This is good.
Yes.
So you're a time creation coach. I want you to talk a little bit about why this is so needed in our current world today. What current challenges or opportunities are you addressing in this current landscape that we have with work and life and all the things? And you say you talk or you work a lot with entrepreneurs. Like, why is this so needed to where you can step in and fill in this gap?
So, time is all we have. It is the literal only thing we cannot get more of, right? If we need to earn more money, we can go back to work or get a new job or work harder, whatever it is, hustle, sell some stuff in our house, whatever it is, we can get more money. We can replace things we have that we lose or break. We cannot get back time we waste.
Mm,
And time and even when I say time we waste, that's so individual. It's different for every person. And one of the ways I discovered I'm super passionate about this is my coach asked me if there was one message, only one thing you could tell everyone in the world, what would it be? And I said, your time is valuable. Stop wasting it.
yeah.
I see this in my life and with my friends. I have friends my age, which is late 30s, who are working for the government and they hate it and they're miserable 40 hours a week when they go into work. And when we talk about it, all they say is that they're just going to wait for retirement
Mm,
and then they'll live their life, right?
right.
Well, that's at least 15, if not 20 years away for us still.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you might not make it. You might not be healthy enough to do the stuff you thought you wanted to do when you get there. So don't put your life on hold for retirement or mythical someday. Um, so I'm really passionate about helping people figure out their individual plans to thread the needle between carpe diem, live like you're dying today, and also planning for a long, healthy life into retirement.
Awesome. And so what would you say today as a society, globally, but also here in Kansas City? Like, what are those aspects of life that are taking up the most amount of our time?
Cell phones.
Cell phones. Cell phones. Tell
It's
me
cell
more.
phones.
Yes. So
So,
how because it's a tool. And when it
yeah,
came out, I remember how excited. I mean, I had just joined the workforce when Blackberries came
same.
out, and then I got switched over to the iPhone, and it was like, wow. And then now we talk about, I mean, there's so much research about the negative effects of it and how we are addicted to these little devices, right? We
Yeah.
are addicted, and that addiction is costing us a lot, but it's costing us time.
Yes. So I am a very firm believer that cell phones are a problem. I think you're right. They are 100%. They were a tool. They were designed as a tool. They absolutely have use and reasons to keep them. Like, and at this point, it's kind of like Pandora's box. We're not going to stop having them anymore. So, how do we set boundaries with them? How do we make them benefit our lives and instead of them running our lives? They're designed to be extremely compulsive and addicting.
Mhm.
And that's because of capitalism, right? Like, how do we get more of your eyeballs, more of your time on here so someone else can earn money off of you, right?
Right,
And
right.
so just being aware of that, asking yourself that question of like, is this a good use of my time? Is this making my life better? Who's benefiting from this is a great thing to ask yourself when you find yourself on the endless feed of social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And then,
I
yeah,
I
go
use
ahead.
a lot. I have a lot of techniques. But one of the first things I did was to develop a course around having boundaries with your phone, about turning off notifications, setting time limits. The app that I spend the most time on is Instagram, so I put a 20-minute a day time limit on there for me to try and limit it, because I see a direct correlation between how much time I spend there and my mood and mental health.
Absolutely. Well, and it's funny, during COVID, I think it was COVID, it seems like so long ago now. I went the full extreme, and I went and got one of those like purposeful dumb phones that has nothing on it, right? You can't even take pictures on it. And that was the one I loved it because I got so much of my time back, right? The one thing I missed was being able to have a camera on me,
Yeah.
of young kids, and it's like I like the picture.
Yes.
But it is about
Totally.
like putting those boundaries and guidelines so that you are intentional when you use those tools.
Yes.
So the other big thing, and I know this too ties into capitalism, which you said earlier, but we spend what, a third of our lives sleeping. Hopefully, we probably need to spend more than we are currently, but we spend a third of our lives ish working. So that's another time investment. And you mentioned it with your friends. If you're working, a third of your life in a job where you're not happy, where you're miserable, how is that a good use of your time? So can you talk kind of
Right.
about what you see with your clients there, or what that current landscape looks like?
So, to be clear, I am not saying my friends are wrong for wanting to have that security of that safe job, a good pension. I just want them to acknowledge that it's a choice, right? Because they act like they're stuck there. And that's what I want people to feel empowered with their time, that they're
Mhm.
using it the way they want to, that they are looking at all the trade-offs and making a choice and then accepting that that's their choice, right? I just don't want
Right.
people to feel like a victim in their life, or like their life is on autopilot, because we are in control. You are in control of your life.
Absolutely.
So,
You can design whatever life you want
yes, for
if
some
you
of
know
us,
what
it's absolutely harder than others. There are absolutely systemic barriers out there. Absolutely,
you
I'm not saying there aren't. I definitely have some privilege for my, socioeconomic status and the color of my skin. Absolutely. But if nothing else, you have control over your mind, right? And that's again where coaching is so helpful, to help you have that control and reframe things. And I'm sorry, I lost the thread of this. What was the original question?
You're good. No, I think, we're gonna in our current system, we're always gonna have to work, right?
Current system.
Like,
Yes.
we have to work. And so I think what you said is really super important, and it's what I spend a lot of time on with my clients and in the work I do, even in, when I consult with workplaces, It is, yes, we know we have to work somehow, but how can we use our time and energy in ways that are energy giving, that are life giving, as opposed to life draining and energy draining? And so
Yeah.
you're spending a third of your life at work. How can you use your time at work or in those spaces, or maybe in other spaces, right, to create the life, as you said, you're empowered to create the life?
Yeah. So, absolutely, I think that we should be working less.
Yeah.
At this point, with how much technology we have, we're digitally meeting, even though we actually live in real life up the street from each other, we're still doing this digitally, right?
True.
Like, we just don't have to be, we can save time in that manner. And I love that. Like, there's no replacement for in person, but Zoom makes things so much easier. We can have a reach that we never had before with the internet, with our cell phones and things like that. So there's where some of those things are benefits. So I absolutely think that we are working too much. Here in the US where we are, we definitely it's soaked into the culture. It's baked into the culture and the air we breathe that our worth is tied to our productivity.
Mhm.
And I learned a lot about this when I read the book Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Devin Price.
Yep.
And I mean, you really have all you need to know from the title. Laziness does not exist. The rest of the book is just supporting that premise. But it just kind of blew my mind when she talked about how our history caused this, right? Like we had, because our long history of slavery and indentured servitude in the colonies and things like that, that we had to tie work ethic to morality, because if you're not getting paid or seeing any benefits of your labor, why would you do it?
Right.
So we're spending a lot more time because we feel guilty if we don't work hard. So that's impacting our health, our mental health. And the other cool fact I learned from that book, Laziness Does Not Exist, is that office workers, people that work online on computers a lot, like you and me, we really only have about 3 hours of super productive work in our day. And when you start thinking about that, it makes our standard 40 to 80-hour work week, depending on your industry, just look bonkers.
Yeah,
It's bonkers.
it
If
is.
we only have 3 to maybe 4 hours of work in us a day, why are we keeping our butt in seat for 8 hours a day? It's a
Because it's
waste of time.
always been, Jen.
Yes.
Well, but this
So,
is great. This is because this is a great segue into,
yeah,
if this is the world that exists for us now. If this is the history that it sprung from, this is our current narrative. This is where so much of our time goes, right? Into these places that aren't serving us individually as people. So we're going to grab our jetpacks really quick. We're going, I don't know where you keep your time machine, Jen, but mine's right out the door here. We're going to jump into our time machines. I still haven't decided if mine is like DeLorean like or if it's like a phone
TARDIS.
booth. Yeah, yeah. I'll figure that out here eventually in the series. And we are going to go into the future, and we're going to go 25-ish years out, 26 years out, to the year 2050. And so much of what you have just talked about and these problems and challenges, we have addressed them. We have figured out how to use time in our favor. We are no longer prisoners to the cell phone or to our office jobs. Paint me a picture of what this future can look like for all of us.
Right. So I think we'll have the 4-day work week for everyone at least, so that we have more time for leisure. We Yeah, we have time to do what we want, to be creative, because I firmly believe that all people are creative, whether that presents itself in art, music, drawing, or just gardening and cooking and things like that. And all humans are creative, and that's where we will spend our time, because that is what refuels us and recharges us and makes our lives rich and fulfilling. I think we will still be working because we also get fulfillment from work. But we we've been pushing for the past 25 years in the interim, we've been pushing back against this narrative that our worth is determined by how much we work, and we've been unionizing so that we have stronger protections for workers to claw back our time for ourselves.
So let me ask, because I'm going to talk about a conversation we had 25 years ago now. You mentioned that as humans, our capacity for deep focus and work is 3 to 4 hours a day. So this 4-day work week, are we still working 8 to 10 to 12 hours on those 4 days? What is my
No.
work schedule, Jen? Tell me what my work schedule is.
Yeah, I'm looking at 4 to 6 hours so that we're maximizing that time that we have of creativity in our work and then using the rest of the time to recharge. In general, we need shorter breaks in the morning because we have more energy. We're fresh from hopefully a good night's sleep. So we're taking longer breaks. We're leaving early. Summer hours are just all the time.
Ooh, I love it. Summer
Yeah.
hours all the time. And that
Yeah,
has nothing
summer
to
hours.
do with climate change or any of that.
Nope.
It's just summer hours are all the time.
Yep. Because we're whole people, and so we need that time. So if some people still go into the office if they want to. I see people working in the ways that work for them, right? So
Yeah.
hybrid's an option, but we still have an office you can go to. Co-working spaces are more common so that your business doesn't have perhaps the overhead of an office, but they provide a co-working stipend so that you can work the way that works for you. Our companies understand that when they help us work in the ways that work for us, that we'll be more productive. They don't have to monitor us with those terrible 25-year-old softwares that track every motion of your mouse to make sure that you're still at your computer, right? They trust us to get our work done.
I was gonna say, it sounds like we've learned to trust each other a little
Right?
more. Well, and part of that comes from being able to show up wholly in our humanity, right? You talked about the creativity, but it's who we are as people are able to flourish. And when we're flourishing, we're productive when we need to be productive.
Right.
Because it doesn't feel heavy and burdensome, right?
Yeah, and that's something I've noticed in my own life, because again, I'm not immune to any of these struggles, right? Like the guilt about not being productive enough, wondering if I've done enough, if using rest as a reward and not as something that's fundamental to work, being a good human and living my best life. So I definitely struggle with those same things and worry about being productive because I live in this society too. So I'm definitely not perfect, but I've thought about it a lot.
But in 25 years, you're not stressed and worried about that anymore. We've figured that out.
Yeah.
So this is a relic I just pulled up from my past. It still works amazingly. It's bizarre. What technology are we carrying on our bodies that allows us to show up in our full humanity? And it's not necessarily the addictive devices of 2024.
That is a good question that I had never really thought of. I mean, I do watch a lot of science fiction.
But do we need personal computers on us at all times?
Absolutely. I think it's one of those things that we've learned the connectivity, the immediacy of that of the cellular network of 2024, 25 years ago was really helpful for people, right? It can help us with the isolation, especially if you feel pretty unique and unusual in your area. You can find friends anywhere in the world that like the same things as you or have the same identity as you. And so I don't think we're not going to lose that connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope we see better transit so that we can get together in person more as well.
Ooh, yes. Yes.
Because again, being in person is still the gold standard. It's just more impactful for us as humans because really we're animals still, right? We're still animals. We need touch and love and connection, real connection. And we just get more of our senses are filled when we're in person. So I think we'll make time for that as well. Like that'll be a priority to see people. Take your vacations.
Well, and what I hear you saying is maybe our personal computers, the intention or the purpose has shifted to be a focus on connection. Like it's a connection tool as opposed to an everything tool.
Yeah.
I also, since we just hopped in our time machines here, I'm sure maybe teleportation is
awesome.
Figured out by then, right? And we can, even though we're half a block down the street, we could like teleport to each other and have this.
Teleport halfway around the world and meet that friend you met online.
That's right.
And save the time of the travel.
That's right. Yeah, we're being efficient in our travel. I
Yes.
love it. So you spoke to something I speak about a lot, and so I have a big passion for letting everyone understand that they are a creative being. It is part of what makes us human, is our ability to create. And you spoke to it 25 years ago in our interview, when you were talking about reminding people and empowering people that they can design. They can create the life they want. They can use their time in the ways that best suit them and their needs. That is one way of creating. But I want you to talk a little more, if you can, about the priority or hierarchy of creativity in 2050. Like you said, we'd spend more time in
Yes.
it. Is society built for that, or is it something we're doing individually, or both?
Both. Yeah, if everyone is doing it, then it has to be respected and treated that way. So yeah, I think like everything, it starts with the individual first. So we
Mhm.
have to develop our individual creativity so that we can then go out into the world and spread that and collaborate and use it widely as well. But yeah, it's just and I think we accept that more types of things are creativity. Like I said before, it's not just can you paint a picture? No, it's do you make amazing desserts or meals in the kitchen? Are you a green thumb at gardening? Do you make amazing improvements to cars and things like that? Like, are you good with your hands in woodworking? Everything is creative.
Yeah.
And
Well, and
so,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I was just gonna say, I wonder too if that bleeds into that work week too that you were talking about. Like
yeah.
everything is creative. Maybe we view our jobs and the work we do from that, value perspective of creativity.
Either way is totally valid
Yeah,
because it's very valid to have a job that supports you and pays your bills and gives you the free time to pursue your creative endeavors, right? So that but hopefully you're going to enjoy your job, because if you don't, you won't have the capacity to do your creative work, right? I
right.
read something online from a financial blogger about nowadays, well, in 2024, in the past, we we don't really have time to recreate. We're
Mhm.
just recovering from work.
Yeah,
We work so much, so long during the week that, you're just trying to survive to get back to work the next week. And so when we work fewer hours now in 2050,
yeah,
we have that time, we have that bandwidth, that energy, that mental space to be creative and do the fun things and spend time with our families too,
right, right. And that's the
with our
connection.
loved ones.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
Do art together, collaborative pieces.
I love it. All right, so I love this future vision one because I I spend most of my time and look at most of the things I do as creating, and um, I think our work schedule and everything is going to shift because I think we're going to learn our value system, or we're going to set our value system in a little better alignment with what humans need to flourish, right? And I think time is you said it earlier, like time is our finite resource. So learning how to respect that and better use that for our own flourishing and thriving is
Yeah.
super. So we're back in our time machines. We went back because it was getting a little confusing going back and forth. Um, but what is our roadmap for moving from today, from working too much, spending too much time on our phones, not really prioritizing or thinking of time in this way? What is our roadmap from here to that vision you just shared?
So I think we are seeing some of that happen now. We are seeing more unionizing, right? Starbucks, Amazon workers, things like that. People are pushing back against the exploitative practices. They want their time back. They want to be compensated fairly so that they can use that money to buy their time back. And We see the complaints that no one wants to work these days because younger people, younger generations, some people, and older people as well, are just like, no, it's not. When you get to the end of your life, you're not going to remember all your work. You're not going to say, man, I wish I'd worked more.
Right. Right.
So I think we're already starting to push back against it. Um, we have learned generally as like pretty much as a world, like how to make virtual work for us because we
Mhm.
had to do it during 2020 when things shut down.
Right.
And so I think people will still be going back to that. We'll be pushing more for that. So yeah, I think we're kind of laying the groundwork already. We are tired of giving all our time to something that isn't meaningful for us or exhausts us and doesn't feel like the best use of our time.
Right.
But again, like I said before too, it starts with the individual, right? So
Yeah.
we have to take care of ourselves first and set the example and advocate for this, right? So if you're working corporate, you work for yourself, whatever you do, you can start this change at your place of employment. Even if you're solo entrepreneurs like us, we can set an example by not answering emails after 6 p.m. on weekdays or something like that, right? Take an entire day off on the weekend without your phone. I do that.
Yeah.
Occasionally, we do no phone Sundays to take a break from our phone, to
Right.
remember what it's like to just be in the world. So
It,
we
it
start
was
we start with there. What's
it
that?
wasn't that long ago when we didn't have these all the time. And it's
Yeah.
to think that we do have to be intentional about saying, I don't want this today. And um, so what as we wrap up this conversation, what is something our listeners can do today or this week? You keep saying we have to start as individuals first. So
Yep.
tell me what I can do or our listeners can do today or this week to move us a step closer to this future vision that you shared.
Yeah, think about your time, think about your life, and I believe I'm a very introspective person. I believe in pretty much evaluating everything, but I don't think it has to be a long drawn out process. So if you look at your life, you can look at your work life, you can look at your personal life and just ask yourself 3 basic questions. What's going well? What's not going well? And what will I do differently? And just slowly, we can start moving ourselves to our ideal life, one little bit at a time, right? One small action every day to design our ideal life, which I believe will have a ripple effect because we can lead by example and show people it's possible
Right.
and show them the results, show them how it's made your life better. You have more time for the things that are important to you.
Right. So, okay. So say it again really quick. What are those 3 questions?
What's going well?
Okay.
What's not going well? And
Mhm.
what will I do differently going forward?
Okay. All right, listeners, you heard that. You need to spend a few minutes. She said, don't draw it all out. I'm
Nope,
going to
short
go
and
do
sweet.
this through. Make your list, answer those questions, and then start making little shifts, is what Jen said, little shifts every day to get more into the what's going well pile, right? We're
Yes,
trying to
exactly.
shift over
Yes.
there. And
Yep.
be aware is what I'm hearing you say. Be aware of how we're spending our time, our finite
Yep.
resource of time in this life.
Because the good news is there's no right answer. And the bad news is there's no right answer. It's up
Awesome.
to you. It's what's important to you. It's what gives you joy and fills your cup. So no one can tell you the answers. That's why you have to look at yourself and evaluate your own life so that you can live the life you want and not a life someone else told you should want.
Right. Right. And that's where, I mean, I'm going to steal it for Project More Happy here, but that's how you build a happier life, right? That is,
Yep.
you start by doing the work and saying, what is happiness to me? What is the life, the ideal life? That was what your language that I want. And what steps can I take right now to get me a little bit closer to that ideal life? And the more steps you take over time, over 25 years, over the next 25 years, we can take a lot of steps.
Yeah, it adds up. Some
And
days you might even feel like taking 2 steps if you have a
that's
lot of
right.
energy.
And some days you might do a running leap. I don't know. My kids
Yep.
have energy to leap. I can't do that anymore. Well, thank you so much, Jen, for coming on and sharing with our listeners about time coaching, about how we can create more time for the things we love and enjoy and want more of in our life, and for sharing this vision of what our collective future could be if we decide to start acting in service of that future here
Yep.
and now.
Like we talked about, it's all about we have the power, right? We are empowered to change our life and then the world.
That's right. Absolutely. We do. We each have the power to
But it's,
change
yep.
the world because it's all ripples.
Yeah.
It's
We have
all
the power to change ourselves. So we have the power to change the world from there.
all right. Well, thank you so much, Jen, for coming on the show. If
Thanks
you
for
have any
having me.
If you have any questions for Jen, feel free to comment, send us a note. I will put Jen's website in the description below too, so you can learn more about her and the wonderful work that she does. All right. Thank you so much. We will see you next episode when we go into the future for
Again.
another possibility when we get in our time machine that I'm going to sketch up one of these days. All right.
Awesome. Thanks for
Until
having
next
me.
time. All right. Thanks, Jen.